Hey, how's it going? My name's Ethan Reyes. For my informative speech, I'll be talking about mental health in sports. And the reason why I chose this topic was because this is something that's sort of talked about, but I feel that it should be talked about way more than it is right now. It's a hard topic because a lot of people have lost their lives because of the stress built up, the issues, all the problems that it's came with. It's been very hard on families, on people, friends, all the above, and I feel like this is a topic that I should have brought up and should be talked about more. But yeah, my three main points of discussion are how certain players react to such situations. So how they react, how if they panic, if they fall down, they can't talk to nobody, and then it ends up being a bigger thing in their head, and it's something that they can't control. My second point is the feelings that come with the mental health. So if they can't address their feelings, if they're feeling stressed, if they're not feeling like themselves, all that can add up and it could cause a bigger issue. And the different ways it could be dealt with, I feel like as family members and coaches should do a better job of reaching out to their players and actually asking them how they feel about certain things, because it goes from classroom to sports to relationships to all the other extra stuff, and that can combine to one big problem that could turn into something bad. I mean, you don't want a death because you couldn't talk about it with anybody, you couldn't figure things out, and it's not something you ever want to deal with, especially nowadays that there's college sports is huge all over this place. You got people getting death threats for missing a ball or something like that. It's crazy, but you gotta be cautious because there's so many aspects that can add up to where and why mental health is a big deal. But yeah, we'll talk about for my introduction here. I'll say a lot of people struggle with this at the highest levels. I mean, being good in sports isn't just about being the strongest and the fastest and who can throw the hardest. It's more about how you feel playing the game, how it makes you feel, how happy it is, why you're there. You made it there as a little kid. You started when you were very young, up until when you were much older. That it was this is the reason why you wanted to play, because your inner self when you were younger is always told yourself that you wanted to play at the highest levels, but didn't know that it would come with this mental health. This aspect wasn't incorporated in it until you got older, until it actually started becoming a job, almost. So this is a very important topic. I mean, it's very stressful, but it's there's many ways that you can get through it, but I'll be addressing why the different reasons and all the things above that go along with this. But players have dealt with these things for a long time. It's obviously not talked about enough. There's a lack of conversation. And when it comes to the challenges with athletes, nobody says nothing. It's silent. Nobody knows anything, and then you have somebody dead, and it's no good. For nobody. So it's surprising how little it's talked about, but it has a very big impact on athletes. I want to say why players deal with these type of things is the highly competitive nature of sports. In sports, like I said earlier, sports is a big deal in this world. It's something that a lot of people love and they're passionate about, and they're so passionate that they won't give anybody a chance and know that people are actually human and those type of things. And this all just adds up, and you have like fear of missing out on things, losing a spot, mental issues, and these things are just all things that can lead up to the mental blocks here. Like, as you can see, this is a presentation of all the, like, it's a blessing to play the sport, but it's also a curse. There's so many sports here, but this can also just add up to something that you don't want. that you'll never know about. But I like to say, like, players like me, when I deal with mental blocks, it's I usually have to talk to somebody, because it's those things can burn you so hard inside. And then when you have three other people in your position, it's like, oh shoot, I have to do this perfect, and if I don't do this perfect, then I suck. That's how I think of it, at least. I don't know, maybe I have a bad view of it, but it's almost like you have to stay on top of your game always, because if you don't, your head just starts spinning, and then you start thinking about other stuff, and it's wraps. So I feel like it's not only me that relates to these type of things. Like, it's more people, obviously. I'm a firm believer in Christianity and God, and I read the Bible, and that helps me through it. And just the idea of knowing that God has me doing these things for a reason, that frees me. For other people, they may not have the same situation. It may be harder for them. So it's almost like, oh gosh, like, how do I deal with this? How it's going in my head, my spirituality isn't right, and all that, and it's just different. And here's a percentage here that says 15.6 to 33.2% of athletes deal with mental issues. So it's a pretty big number, and I bet that's not even what it's all talked about. There's probably even more. Just nobody says anything about it. But here's another like a view of a picture showing that this girl looking at herself in the mirror, but it says stress all over the place. Stress, just stress. That's all she feels, and it's just not a good feeling. And what else? I also wanted to say that for going on to my third point, moving on from my second point, I wanted to say that mental health needs to be talked about more. I know I'm catching up on time, but it needs to be something that needs to be talked about. It needs to be talked about by coaches, by family members, all the above. Players should be surveyed on how their mental health is, it should be a rule in the NCAA. It should be something very important to people, because you don't want people losing their lives off of these things. This is way too important. The sports, it comes, but somebody's life matters more. And basically, this should, in general, should just be talked about more. It just blows me how much it's not talked about. But mental health is a huge thing in college sports, and it's very hard for players to cope with their issues if they're not being talked about with other people. And this plays an important role in everybody else's life. And it's not just the individual dealing with the crisis, but it's the family and the friends and all the above. And it's important that we address like this, because the life is always on the line. And here I have another little. This is what goes through the mind. I have to win. It's game day. It's stress. So much going on. Problems at home. This is all just an additive of things that can happen with the mental, and it's not a cool feeling. Promise, it's not. And then for my last visual, it's just showing like it's kind of like the last one. It's just, and this is not even with sports. This is a normal human being dealing with all these insecurities, exams, anxiety, deadlines. This is just stressful, and it's the mental health topic. Just in general, is a disgusting topic, but it needs to be talked about. It needs to be addressed. It needs to be something that's important in sports and in normal lives. Thank you. That's my informative speech.